qualified as a mechanical engineering and under Department of Supply, as it was then, cadetship. So we joined the government aircraft factories for a short time and then moved to what was then in the 1970s aeronautical research laboratories, but in what was then termed the mechanical engineering division, later became propulsion, part of what later became DSTO. The chief engineer, Andrew Bishop, invited me to visit here and to do some vibration monitoring measurement on several of their aircraft. As it turned out, the Merlin is just about perfect. And I mentioned this to Andy, and he said, yeah, well, we had put a new propeller on it, and we did go to quite a bit of trouble to fit it carefully, and the Merlin was just about perfect. So that's really interesting. So they next wheeled me out to the next aircraft. Now, it's a Boomerang. Now, this has got a large 14-cylinder, large radial engine, around about 1820 or 1830 cubic inches. And I thought, how would you tell any difference with this thing with 14 cylinders rattling away? What difference would a small bit of trim on the propeller make? But anyway, I'm here, so we'll give it a go. And we started up. And in the vibration range, there's that much is sort of considered up there is really bad. You almost take the prop off. Well, the Boomerang started off there, and we started to put weights on it. And after the first run, when we put a reasonable correction rate, Andrew, who was running it up, said, it's a lot better. I said, how could you tell? Because I thought, with all this noise and vibration going on, how could you tell the difference? But he said the pitot, apart from the fact it felt a bit better in the cockpit, the pitot, which is on the starboard wing, instead of going through an amplitude of about 2 or 3 inches, was much quieter. And I thought, gee, that's interesting, but I'm pleased that things work. So we brought the vibration back to a very low level, which would have been a fifth of what it started out at. So it started out at, we use these metrics of 0.5, but don't worry about what it means. 0.1 is bad, 0.5 is pretty average, and we brought it back to 0.1. So we had an improvement of, is that 500%? So that's terrific. And you measure the initial vibration, then you put a test weight on, and after you put the test weight on, you know how much to put on and where to put it. And I thought, that's interesting. So the next morning, I came in the hangar and I gave them a bit of a quiz. I said, if we tap this, we attach a sensor on the end of, partway up the pitot, so it wouldn't affect the weight of the pitot. And I said, well, if we tap the end of it, what frequency is it going to be? So we got a range of answers, and I knew the answer. I reckoned I knew the answer. So we gave it a dong there, and on the frequency analyzer, you can actually see the peak, and the peak was right on the running speed that we'd been balancing it at, and which is also one of the cruising speeds. In fact, what I believe they do, and Doug Hamilton does, they just tap the throttle. It'll be vibrating one. They just tap the throttle forward a little bit until it stops vibrating. Well, now, and talking with the builder of the Boomerangs, who's subsequently flown the same one, which is Susie Q, he's flown it. He said it is much better and smoother at other RPMs as well. So I admit I was sort of pleasantly very surprised. But it's something that you can do easily. It doesn't cost very much, and it will extend the life of the airframe bits, because they won't sort of vibrate and shake so much. So we're talking about exhaust systems and cooling baffles and the like, because the engine internally is very well balanced, really, but the prop is a bit of a loose cannon because it'll get subject to ground vibration, and you can't go removing the prop every 100 or so hours just to check whether it's statically balanced, because even if it is statically balanced, when you bolt it on the front, and the static balance may not be perfect and it won't be necessarily located as well. So, so that was a really good news story.